30 for 30 this week. We are excited to have join us Illinois Assistant Basketball Coach Chester Frazier. He is a former Illinois player, obviously, as you all know, and he is back in Champaign. And how's it feel to be back in Champaign, Chester?
Oh, man, it feels great, man. Excited, ready to get back to work. Guys are home for break right now, so ready to get this thing going, man. Got a little bit of time before games start, so putting it all together. Been fun so far.
Now you come in, it's kind of, you've really been it's a crazy story. I mean, you got that whole rags to riches story right now going on, right? I mean, when you came to Illinois, I think you were telling me in July, you came in you had a duffel bag, way back I think the first time I met you was like 2005. Was that about right? 2004 or 5? Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so you come with a duffel bag. Now you got more than a duffel bag, right? I mean, you got a nice house. You're living the dream. How's that feel?
Yeah, man. I mean, I still, one of my things, man. I still, nice house. Yeah, I mean, that's for my family, but I still live modestly. I don't spend a lot of money, man. I'm still cheap. But no, man, it's crazy to think when I first arrived on campus, I probably had, a couple of outfits and, my underwear and stuff like that. I just came here ready to work, man. I didn't have a lot, but, I just brought character and work ethic. So I was just excited to be on a college campus.
And I think that work ethic has, throughout your career, you were known for your work ethic when you played. And now as a coach, I mean, everybody, I got to do my background on you as a coach when you get hired, right? So I'm asking guys and everybody tells me, he's a grinder, man. He's a grinder. The guy puts in his time. Do you think that it just carried over, right? I mean, from your career to your life, it's just how you.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how I was raised, man. I mean, my dad worked hard. My mom worked hard, and we're a blue collar family, and just one of those guys that just didn't live off talent. I had to work hard to get everything I've earned. So I don't take it for granted, just because you move up and, you may make more money. And, I started at 25, and, you got to grind, man. That's just the nature of the beast, man. If you don't work hard, you're going to get outworked, you're going to get beat. And, I don't like losing. So I'm a competitor in everything I do. So, I mean, when it comes to recruiting or basketball, I put everything into it.
So going back, I got to ask one question. Everybody wants me to ask you this question. Like, do you and Eric Gordon still exchange like messages or Christmas cards or anything?
No, man. I haven't talked to Eric Gordon since he used to come up on campus with us and hang out. I haven't talked to him since then, man. I mean, I don't have no ill will towards Eric Gordon, man. I mean, look, I'm a competitor, man, and I had to check his temperature and see what he was made of before the game. I just wanted to, let him know I was there, and this ain't gonna be a easy night for you. So, I gave him a little bit, and first half he was a little nervous, and the second half he settled in and played better.
No, it's all good. I mean, the chest bump, it's one of those legends and lores. So if we go back to your time, do you have a memory like when you played? Like, what's the best memory? I mean, you hit a couple game-winning shots. I remember because I was there, right? So, I mean, What's your memory? Like, what's the best memory you maybe have for your playing time?
You know what's crazy, man? My best memory will be just every day with my teammates. That camaraderie, that brotherhood, those practices, man. Those were fun, man. But I remember one time, my freshman year, we're at Michigan State, and you know how you run out the tunnel, and I was the first guy in line, and Dee had like told everybody like, yo, wait, let him run out there by himself. I go out full speed. I'm the only one out there, and they're ripping me a new one. Like their student section was like, hey, there's the fake Dee Brown, and there's little Bow Wow, like, and I'm like, I look back, they're in the tunnel just laughing hard as hell, like. But that was one of the most memorable experiences for me. Like going to North Carolina, beating Carolina at Carolina was fun. Just a lot, man. I mean, it's a whole. I can go for days.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, Dee throwing you under the bus there gave you throwing you into the is zone there. Let him pan it.
That was fun. I had fun with it.
That's good. Hey, so the other thing is, as I kind of look back and you look back at your playing career, one of the things that you did was you really developed as a shooter. Like your senior year, I mean, you shot a great percentage from three. Was there something like was it just one of those things like I'm going to work hard to do it, or is there like
No,
something?
I'll tell anybody this that will listen, man. I had a role, right? I wasn't a great shooter, but I used to see dudes going 3 for 10. Like if I got 10 shots, I probably could make 3 of them. Like it's it wasn't my role. I wasn't a scorer. I was a playmaker. And I'll say this, I really struggled with the motion offense. I wasn't a guy that could run off a screen and shoot. I was more of a penetrator and a facilitator. That was my role. So for me to go out there and take 10, 11 shots, we weren't playing at the fastest tempo anyway. We're probably getting, somebody could look this up, 50, 60 shots. So it would look crazy for me to go out there and shoot 9, 10 of those shots. So
right.
If you look back, I probably shot 5 times a game. I mean, what do you expect me to make? 3 out of 5? I mean, like dude, and 2 of them probably at the end of the shot clock. So for me, I had tough skin, and it never bothered me when people talk about my shooting. But I could make an open shot. Like it wasn't my role to run around and run off screens and shoot. I left that was Jamar, Trent, Dimitri. Those guys were shot makers and scorers. I mean, so I was more, and we didn't play super fast. And I was more of a transition, get in the lane, play make, assist guy. And I embraced it, and I didn't run from it. And sure, I wanted to shoot the ball more and I wanted to, score more, but I embraced whatever the team needed me to be. And the teams that I was on, they needed me to defend, rebound, and facilitate at a high level. And that's what I tried to do every night.
So you talk about being a facilitator. You got a pretty good facilitator on your team right now. Seems like there's a young dude, Andre Curbelo, and we've talked, whatever we've talked about. And what are your thoughts on after you watch being a point guard yourself? What are your thoughts after finally getting to work him out this summer?
Well, he's extremely gifted. His IQ he's got one of the best IQs I've ever coached. He sees the game. And he may see it a play ahead of another player. And that's why he'll turn the ball over, because he'll see something and it'll usually be the right play, but he may not be on the same page with another guy. He loves the flare and the home runs. I'm trying to get him to hit singles, but I mean, he's special, man. He's one of the best passers I've ever coached. He's got a great feel. He's got good speed, good instincts. He can play in tight spaces. He can maneuver around the lane better than most small guards. So he's got a lot going there. And once the jump shots starts falling for him, it'll open up a whole nother world. So, I mean, he's special.
Is that can you kind of walk him through that? Because he's the same way. Like he never had to shoot. He can shoot. I've seen him shoot in workouts, but he's never had to shoot because why would I shoot a 3 when I can shoot a layup?
And I'll tell people this. I used to laugh like I've had games in my career where I've made 4 or 5 threes in a game. Dudes who just can't shoot don't make 4 and 5 threes. Now, I may have lost confidence at times where I may miss a shot because I'm only getting 2 or 3 shots. You know what I mean? Right. So you may miss that 1 or 2 and it's like, oh, he can't shoot. But Curbelo can actually shoot the basketball, man. I mean, it's funny. He hit you look at all of his shots last year, what he didn't get was catch and shoot wide open threes. Everything he did last year was kind of off the bounce, off a ball screen. So they were tougher shots. So I think once, the ball gets away from him and it finds him again and he gets an open shot, he'll be a much better shooter.
Is there so you finally, Bello, obviously, just fantastic. You get the big fella back. I mean, it's good to see that guy back. I mean, tell me the truth. Like when you saw Kofi, I mean, you've seen Kofi. And my first thing, I saw Kofi, but when I saw Kofi, like I'm standing with Kofi, I'm like, that dude is a mountain. Like, I mean, I've seen big guys before, but he's different. He's
the second biggest human being I've ever seen in my life. Number one was Shaq in Vegas on a recruit trip. Maybe Greg Oden was big, but not as big as him. But yeah. I mean, when I saw him in the bubble last year, walking through the bubble, I said, man, this is a big human being. And he's so energetic. He's fun to coach. He brings energy every day. Most big guys, they don't have, he's got a motor. I mean, he's special, man. He's a unicorn.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, way he runs the floor too. I mean, you just don't think, you think of big guys lumbering down the floor, and he doesn't lumber. I mean, he sprints. He's fast. Impressive dude. I got to talk to him a little bit in Atlanta. He's just such a great kid too. I mean, I think Kofi is just such a wonderful kid. So, do you have and so how do you think, like overall, how do you think your summer workouts went? Do you feel like you made the progress you wanted to see them make?
Yeah. I think our guys got better. We're doing a lot of shooting, a lot of concepts, playing in pick and roll, and, seeing some guys make some decisions, and we got a lot of depth too, man. We got a lot of bodies. So, we're able to, piece it all together. We should have a special team this year, if everybody can sacrifice and play the right way. And, you put it all together, it's a special group of guys.
You've got and so you look at your squad. I mean, how much do you implement this summer of like your game plan? Is it mostly individual stuff this summer for you guys?
Yeah. It's you want to see everybody before you start diving into X's and O's and schemes. I mean, you're still figuring out what everybody can do and how it gels together and what makes sense. So to go in and put some offense in, and maybe some basic stuff, but to go, you don't know exactly what you have at this point. So, you'll get a better feel for that as we get to the end of August, September, middle part of September, you'll start to piece it together.
And so now you've had a chance, and I know you didn't really know Coach Underwood prior to when you met with him, maybe a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
Now you've had a chance to work closely with him for a couple months here, been out on the road, been in the gym, you've all these things. What excites you about him? Just going by what you said, you got, you talking about loving everyday practice. You got to love being an everyday guy, right?
I think that's the thing for me is he brings energy every day, and I'm kind of the same way. Just every time I hit the floor, I'm gonna bring it, have good energy. And he's the same way, he's excited to practice, he holds people accountable. He's fun. So, and it just lets you do your job, man. It lets you work. So that for me, that's a breath of fresh air, man. A guy that's going to get in the trenches and grind with you, but also not micromanage you and let you work every day.
You've got your history, worked with Bruce Weber, obviously played for Coach Weber, and then got to work with him, and then got to work with Coach Young at Virginia Tech. You've had two really good, X and O guys that you've got to work with as well. How have they helped you, or what have you learned from those guys?
Well, Coach Weber, man, I mean, that's family. That's not, everybody's like Coach Weber. Like that's family for life. But Coach Weber's a really good coach, man. We won a lot of games together, as a player and as a coach. Very defensive minded, but very underrated offensively when he can get the pieces together. You saw it was the Final Four team and some of our teams at K-State. But Coach Weber, practices were harder than games, so, he's going to challenge you every day. He's going to get you to, the will part will never be a question for Coach Weber. You're going to play hard. You're going to compete. Coach Young, what I got from Coach Young was attention to detail. Okay. Like, executing, being a stickler for details, and the devil is in the details. So one step to the left, to the right makes a difference in the set running and being efficient. Being able to go in and run your offense 5-on-0 at a good tempo, and being able to really execute. He was a big stickler for execution and not being sloppy, not turning the ball over. Good passing, sharp passing, efficient scoring. He didn't play at a high tempo, but we valued every possession, and we were going to get a good shot most times down the floor because we're going to execute. We're going to put you in a blender, hard to scout because we ran so many sets. So you kind of get that fine balance of freedom versus, look, we're going to dial it up and we're going to put it together and we're going to put a game plan together to beat you, and we're going to be hard out every night. So, and being able to, to be honest, do more with less. Being with a place like K-State, and again, this is no knock on K-State or Virginia Tech. The region and the market where you are, it's hard to get 5-star recruits and sometimes even 4-star recruits. So you had to develop, you had to coach, you had to build relationships, and you had to really learn how to scheme and game plan to win games. And you become a better coach because of what you ultimately didn't have in recruiting. You became a better coach. So now when you get players and you're able to do the same thing, we're able to, build a winning program.
As you go through it, speaking, you talk about recruiting and how cool was it to get back out on the road? I mean, you guys were, and I know you, and you're like you're an energy, go get them. I mean, you want to be out on the road seeing guys as much as you can. Basically, you were cooped up for a year. I mean, you didn't get to go out and see guys. Now you get to go out and see guys. How important, how cool was that for you?
Oh, it's good because now you get to evaluate, and that's why I think more than a recruiter, I think I'm a really good evaluator of talent. There's some guys that you see and he's top 30, but I don't think he fits, and I've always been that way. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not just going to take a talent just to take a player. Like, it has to make sense. It has to fit. It has to be a lot of things involved where you say, well, he fits our program. We're just not going to take a guy just to take a guy. And I've always lived by that. Whether he be a 3-star, 5-star talent, it didn't matter to me. Can we coach this guy and can we win with this guy? And that mattered to me. So being able to see guys, see their mannerism, how they interact with their coaches, do they compete? Do they play hard on a nightly basis? That was fun for me to get out there and finally see these guys play and being able to evaluate. The recruiting part is, everybody recruits. At the end of the day, we're in the age of internet recruiting. You can blast a highlight on the internet. One school offers, then he gets 20 offers. The fun part for me is going in the gym and evaluating and finding that kid that maybe nobody thought was really good. And, hey, this kid's pretty good. And seeing those guys and seeing these so-called top guys and compete, that was fun for me. Just being able to finally get out and see these guys compete and be in that environment. It was different being in the gym. So that was fun for me, but, it's short-lived. You got a couple weekends to see these guys, but yeah. I thought we got a lot out of it.
You get to see live. For me live. I mean, I've got my Baller TV subscription. I've got this, and I'm watching guys on film. It's just not the same. You know what I mean? I mean, when you get live, you get to see those guys, how they interact with their teammates, how they interact with the coaches, what they're doing, because sometimes those TV screens, you don't get everything off the ball, or they sprint up and down the floor, all those little things. And so I love seeing that live stuff. I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, that, and you just hit it on the nose, man. Just seeing those little intangible things that you don't see on film. Like, we would sit down and watch Baller TV, all these streaming sites. We spent a lot of money to evaluate kids because it's the only way you could. And then you're doing Zoom meetings, but there's nothing like the real interaction, man. There's just no substitute for that.
Yeah. So one thing about you, and one thing we've noticed, you obviously have connections in different parts of the country. I mean, one of those things, we go back to the old, former assistants, they had connections here and there and there, but you've got some unique connections for Illinois people. I mean, with your connections, whether it's in Baltimore, you've got some connections in Florida, you got some connections around the country. I can't list them all, but it's kind of unique because it's funny, because being a guy who covers recruiting, we're kind of these guys, and then you come in and you've got your guys, and it's kind of a weird dynamic that, you're able to just pull from a different country. How do you sell Illinois to the other parts of the country?
Well, I mean, Illinois is a national brand. It's a national name, so you should be able to recruit nationally here. So, I think back, even before I got to school here, I mean, Darren Williams, you had Warren Carter, you had guys that weren't from Illinois and from different regions, Mike Davis, I came from the East Coast. I mean, you were getting guys from different areas. And I think you can do that here and be successful. Now, you obviously got to take care of home, but I learned to hunt at K-State. Okay. I was 25. I didn't know anybody. And then nobody gave me a blueprint or manual and said, hey, this is the key to recruiting. I got my head kicked in the first couple years in recruiting because I'm just hunting. I'm just going, I'm building relationships. But one thing, I didn't burn any bridges. So I kept relationships. If I didn't get a kid, I didn't get mad. I just kept recruiting. So now you get to year 10 and it's like, oh, okay. Now, hey, I know this guy. I went up there and saw his kid, and you build those relationships across the country. And that's how it happened. I mean, at a place like K-State, you're going, you're getting the third, fourth best player in Florida, fifth best player in Florida, and developing them. And that's how I built the niche. Barry Brown, best player I ever recruited, 1,800 points. He's a 3-star recruit, and he walked us to an Elite Eight and a Big 12 championship, so, Kamal Stokes, 3-star kid. I mean, they were 1,200 point scorer at K-State and missed 20 games. So those guys, if you have a niche for evaluating, those are kids that have no business being at Kansas State. I mean, one's from Florida, one's from Baltimore, and essentially could probably play anywhere in the country. So, I kind of look at, any school, man, it's about how you sell it, opportunity. Kids want opportunity. At the end of the day, you're not going to sell a kid and say, hey, come here and wait 3 years and, especially outside of the region. If you got the region, you got to have an opportunity, got to make sense, development, winning. Obviously, we're winning right now, so that makes it easy.
Yeah, I was a big Barry Brown fan. I loved watching that kid play. I mean, he was a baller, man. So when you kind of look at this, fitting a roster, putting it together, how do you decide what's a good? Is it based on who's on your roster? Is it? I mean, because you can't have 5 of the same guy. You can't have how much is pieces that fit a role.
Yeah, and a lot of that's changing now with immediate transfer. So it's kind of turning into. Now it's almost like, you never know what your team's going to look like the next year. Yeah. So it's like, this is what you have. This is what we lack. Can we go put it all together now, and, I think we're off to a good start. When you look at our team, and that was kind of the key to our team is versatility, right? You got a guy like DeMonte Williams, who essentially is a wing player that can play up a spot because he's tough and he's physical and he makes shots at the 4 spot. Jake Grandison, kind of the same thing, Coleman Hawkins can play anywhere from the 3 to the 5, Trent can play 1, 2. These are versatile pieces. Io was a guy that could play multiple positions. Curbelo could go on the floor with the Io and the Trent. So just having versatility, I've always been a fan of guards that can all dribble, pass, and shoot. I've always wanted to take guys that weren't limited in a way that could do a little bit of everything. My ideal backcourt would be like guys like a Baylor's backcourt that can all dribble, pass, shoot, take you off the bounce, pass to each other. So I've always looked for guards, in multiple sizes that could do that. So big guys, versatility, guys that could play 2 positions, play the 4, maybe some 5, skill, IQ, tough. Guys that have functional skill levels. So that when you start putting it all together, you can never have enough guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot the basketball. So, and then such a major emphasis on shooting in today's game, it's almost hard to take a guy that can't shoot in today's game.
Yeah, it's almost funny. You look back at 2005 Illinois team, obviously that was the year before you got there. They shot so many threes. They passed ball. It's almost like they were playing space and pace before we got there.
They were ahead of their time with Roger Powell at the 4. That was small ball. James Augustine was considered a power forward at that time, became a center. So it was almost genius. 3 guards. Roger Powell is a stretch 4 that could also is strong enough to guard bigger guys. And then Augustine could run, screen, JYD type guy, but could also pass it, playing dribble handoffs, ball screen. So and then you bring a Jack Ingram off the bench who could shoot it. They were kind of before their time if you think about it. Richmond Pride come off the bench shooting. The one thing, if that team might have had Brian Randall, you don't know what could have happened. So that team was definitely before its time for sure.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, I can't imagine Brian Randall may have been the guy they needed in that last game. Who knows?
No question. No question.
It's funny when you look at this and you kind of look at the college basketball landscape. You mentioned this, the 1-year transfer. When you look at the 1-year transfer rule, how hard is it to then also, I guess relationships are huge there too, because let's say you don't burn that bridge. Maybe in a year you may be recruiting that kid again, or 2 years.
Exactly. Don't delete those numbers when you don't get it, So, and it's a weird thing, man. It's like, okay, you can either complain about it or you can play the game, hey, look, you're going to be in the portal too, so, you may lose a kid. It's like NBA free agency, man. We may pick up one out the portal. So like we can complain about it as coaches, or you can embrace it. Hey, look, guys are making a living in the transfer portal. A guy like Eric Musselman at Arkansas. I mean, you get older, you instantly get guys who've been coached. You got immediate film. You can go on Synergy and watch all these kids film rather than taking a 17, 18-year-old kid. So you can build it that way, or you can build it organically with freshmen, or you can blend the two. I mean, it's just, whatever your preference is. But, you get into an emergency situation, you get to March, April, and one of your guys leave. You're probably not going to go look at a freshman player. You're probably going to go to the portal and say, hey, how can I piece this thing back together?
Yeah, it's definitely a different game than what we're used to, over the past few years of recruiting, but it changes things. But, like you say, there's some good, there's some bad, but it is what it is, and you just got to deal with it as you go forward. So back to our team coming in, Illinois team coming in for this year. Like, what do you look at? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I feel like even at 12, 13, I think you guys are a little undervalued. I mean, I really think that if things click, I mean, you never know. I mean, because somebody get hurt, whatever. But I mean, I think if things click with your depth, with the pieces you have, you got the star power, you got the guys who fill roles. I feel like you guys got a chance to make a run.
Yeah, I feel good about our team. You put it all together. The finished product is what matters. We have the depth, we have the size. Guard play will be good. I mean, we have every ingredient of a really good team. And I've been a part of some really good teams, and I've coached some really good teams. This team has all the ingredients to be really good. Now it's about putting it together, making it mesh, making it gel. And when you have depth, it's about guys being willing to sacrifice and be all in and win. So, we'll see once we get to that point. Obviously, you have super seniors and you have some young guys, and, how to mesh that together, that will be our jobs. But yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about being undervalued. I just want to go 1-0, win the first game, and then the next game go 1-0 again. And that's, let's just keep steamrolling. But, starts in practice. And then once we start getting games and, we start seeing what we have and our warts and what we need to improve on. I mean, nothing is never going to be perfect, but, we got a pretty good group, man. I wouldn't hide that, but, we're going to have work to do like everybody else.
Yeah, I think, there's probably not a perfect team out there, but at least you feel like you're in a conversation, you can compete with anybody. On a given day, you can win. So that's always a good thing. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. We're excited to get you back. Obviously, you got you and Tim and Jeff, all 3 new assistants, and all guys really looks like doing a great job so far. I mean, so we're very excited about the season, excited to have you on board. And now you got a couple weeks to plan for the fall thing. I'm sure you're going to be recruiting, of course, that whole time, nonstop talking to people. But and then we get back on campus, start some official visits, and I'm pretty excited for that. So, hey, appreciate you coming on, Chester. Thanks again.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.